Alright, now what you could do here is take a straight edge and you can sand the whole length of it, get it trued. However, what I like to do is if you have this stuff works pretty easy, pretty like a dream, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, you know, it's whatever, it's early. I got a adhesive backed sandpaper. Comes on a roll for like DAs and stuff like that, for your pneumatic grinders and such. It's sticky backed. That's what I use on this. This is the thicker grit, or this is the thicker grit, and this is a little smoother grit. I also use the same stuff on this. This is this grit here, and then this is a smoother grit on the other side. This is just a piece of metal I found at work. It was laying on the floor. Got a nice shape to it, and I thought, well, I can find a use for that. So I picked it up, brought it home, and come to find out it works good for a sander. So made it work. But all I do with this is when I'm working a fairly long piece like this, I'll just take that piece of adhesive and stick it right to the front of my workbench. From there, I just take this and go back and forth with it. Yeah. All you're doing is just cleaning it up, truing it up, bringing it to a little bit more of a square edge, which I can see that's a little off on the end here, and a little bit off on this side. It tapers off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work the end here. Yeah, I trued that up. That squared that up a little bit. I don't know how well you can see that. Before I had a little bit of a dip right here and a little bit of high side right here. This side was a little low on the end. I just kind of evened it out. This piece might, yeah. See how it's a little thicker on this end versus down here on this end? You can true that up just by putting a little pressure in that area. And squaring it out. The other side shows this end a little thicker than this end. There you go. Just quick little easy tips and ideas you can play around with. And when you're done, you can just pull the sandpaper up and toss it aside, use it again later. Works out pretty good. So now I'm making a mess out of the bench. Oh well. So here, what you do is you can either take one of these, or if you have like I know a lot of people use the sanding sticks like ladies use on for their fingernails. Those would work too. I've used them in the past. I have some left, but they're all pretty used and worn out. That's what I came up. A good friend of mine, Ken, through the Butcher's Model Car Club, he came up one of the meetings one time, and he had these little foam blocks with him. He goes, "You know what these would work good for?" And we're like, "What?" And just stick a little piece of sandpaper on them and use it for a sanding block. So I was, well, that's an idea. So he gave me one, and ever since then I use the living daylights out of this thing. So again, it's just a piece of adhesive back sandpaper and stuck to it. Now you got a nice decent foam block, and it's nice and thick. You can hold on to it. But all I do is I just clean up the edges on it. Just to get rid of some of the burrs off from cutting it. Just want to clean it up so it looks good. Yeah, let's see here. There we go. Hard working on the camera here. All right, I just cleaned it up a little bit off camera. I'll clean that one up later. This piece already has the one end cut on it from when I did the other one. And all we're going to do is just cut this again to give it that, just that drop down. What that drop down does is it covers up the end of the frame. Because if I was to hang just this off the back, you'd see the lower half of that frame hanging down. And what the drop down does, it just helps cover the ends of the frame rails up. That way you don't see the little bit of hanging down below it. Just helps clean it up a little bit. And all I did here, same thing, I just laid this on top of it and took the marker and then drew it, lined it up. Whoops, hello. And mark it for a cut and then cut it off. Today, I know a lot of you probably know, today is the 20th anniversary of the 9/11. For anybody that's, anybody worldwide I know has heard about it, know about it. Last couple of days, my wife and I, we've been kind of showing our daughter some of the videos and stuff. There's a lot of stuff on TV and AirPlay right now. But she wasn't alive when all that stuff happened. She never knew too much about it. And this year she's gotten into it a little bit, trying to understand it, whatever else. We've been watching some of the shows on TV, kind of getting her into it a little bit so she understands and knows what's happened years ago. But I tell you what, it's still, even 20 years later, it's still tough to watch. It's still pretty heavy on a lot of people's hearts here and in the world everywhere. Kind of hard to watch and kind of neat at the same time in a kind of a not so good way. But yeah, it was 20 years ago and it still seems like it was just yesterday. But that's your drop down. And all I did was, after that, is, let's see what I do here. How'd I do this? Oh yeah. You can lay this on top. Line up your ends, line it up on top, and then just come where your drop down is. Mark it to where you get an idea. Doesn't have to be exact. Draw a line on it. I think next time I'll put the backdrop in. I'm going to move the camera a little closer here. Get you all seasick here. Once you have that, get your lines. All I did is come in with your X-Acto knife. And you can just push down into this plastic. It's fairly thin. And then this is where you got to be careful too. You cut down in. Let the blade come across to where your cutoff is. And that piece just comes out. Go across the back the other way. What is that? Oh, I know what I did. Oops. Do over. That bumper's junk. Well, not junk, but next. I forgot this. The back side of this, you got to have a place to glue this piece onto it. So I didn't cut it all the way across. Using this piece, I was cutting out here. But to do that, This bumper I can still use. I'll just have to reinforce it. I'll do that later. What I'm going to do here is just line up the ends. And then what I'm going to do is where I've already got this other one cut off at. Mark it there. Mark it there. That way it's a little narrower cut. Narrower opening. It's not so wide. Start clearing that other one out. I said, that's a little wide. Again, just carefully cut down into it till you hit your cutoff area. Come back and hit the other one. Then take and clean it up. Alright. Then you're left with that. Just a small little cutout at it. A little notch, if you will. Clean it up a little bit, square it up. And this is where this piece here will lay in from the back side of it. Now this, you're going to have to cut. You can see how I cut the back side of this one out. I notched the back side out to where this will hang down and go over the ends of the rear frame rails. That way it doesn't stick, you know, otherwise it'll be kind of cocked like this out when you're on the back of the truck. You got to notch it to where this fits over the caps off the end of the truck. I don't know how well you can see it underneath there. Otherwise, it's going to be these drop-down tabs, whatever on the frame, you got to clear them. All I did there was mark it and... Oops. Golly. Too many swing arms here. All I did was kind of... You can measure this out. Wow. Stupid drainage going on. You could measure this out with a ruler and all that stuff. A lot of times I just eyeball it just to kind of get it close, get it somewhat centered. And all you're going to do is draw your lines on it. What I'm doing is matching up the notch that we put in here to here. Drawing the two drawing the two lines on there to match up there. That way this will be your frame. What I did was when I started out, kind of backtracking here, I measured the width of my frame here to here. And then I marked that onto the piece here. I measured it out. Measured the center. Found dead center on this one that I built. Found dead center on it, marked it, and then I measured the width of the frame, divided that in half, measured out, marked it, and measured out and marked, and that's where I came up with my cutout here, my center cutout. That's how I came up with that one. Let me get that one off the side there. I know I'm kind of backtracking on that, sorry for that. Now on this here, before all I did was just pierce the plastic and kind of pulled it down through. It'd probably work better if you don't want to cut all the way through though. You don't want to come through the front side. All I'm doing is I'm just cutting, using this just to get a... Oh, this is hard to do this way. Almost turn around backwards on it. All I did was just enough to cut through to where now I'm inside the plastic, where I'm inside the tube. All I'm going to do there is push it down to where you hit the resistance of the front side of the plastic. I'll let you see that. Right about there maybe. And then on the top side, you're not going to cut all the way down to here. I'm just coming halfway down through the plastic. I'm right about there. You want a little bit of a shelf here in the end. If I drew a line, maybe that'd help. Just give you a little reference. Whoops. All right.